Well now, Flossie dear, here I am with Pippi Longstocking. But first of all, do you like my new top? Papa bought it for me, but actually it's pinker than it looks. It's pink really more than orange. Pinky red, I suppose you'd say. Anyway, it's very nice and snug. So this one is called Pippi Goes to School. Dread to think what she gets up to there. So let's hear. Tommy and Anika went to school, of course. Every morning at 8 o'clock they would trudge off hand in hand with their school books under their arms. At that time of day, Pippi would usually be grooming her horse or getting Mr. Nilsson dressed in his little suit. Or else she would be doing her morning exercises, which involved standing up straight and then doing 43 somersaults, one after another. Afterwards, she would sit on the kitchen table and in blissful silence drink a big cup of coffee and eat a cheese sandwich. Tommy and Anika would always cast a longing glance at Villa Villacula as they plodded off to school. They would much rather have gone over to play with Pippi. At least if Pippi went to school too, things would have been better. Just think how much fun we could have together when we walked home from school, said Tommy. Yes, and on the way there too, Anika added. The more they thought about it, the sadder it seemed to them that Pippi didn't go to school. Finally, they decided to try and convince her to start. You have no idea what a nice teacher we have, Tommy slyly told Pippi one afternoon when he and Anika went over to Villa Villacula after they finished all their homework. If you only knew how much fun it is at school, Anika assured her, I'd go crazy if I wasn't allowed to go. Pippi was sitting on a stool in the middle of washing her feet in a basin. She didn't say a word, just wiggled her toes for a moment so that the water splashed all around. You don't really have to be there very long, Tommy went on, only till 2 o'clock. That's right, and then you get Christmas holidays and Easter holidays and summer holidays, said Anika. Pippi bit her big toe as she gave this some thought, but she still didn't say a word. All of a sudden she seemed to make up her mind. She poured all the water out onto the kitchen floor so that Mr. Nilsson, who was sitting nearby and playing with a mirror, got his trousers completely soaked. It's not fair, said Pippi sternly, not paying any attention to Mr. Nilsson's complaints about his wet trousers. It's absolutely not fair. I don't intend to put up with this. With what? Asked Tommy. In 4 months it will be Christmas, and then you'll have a holiday. But what about me? What do I get? Pippi sounded sad. No Christmas holidays, not even a little Christmas holiday, she complained. Something has to change. Tomorrow I'm going to start school. Tommy and Anika clapped their hands with glee. Hooray! Then we'll wait outside our front door at 8 o'clock. Oh no, said Pippi, I can't start that early. And besides, I'm probably going to ride to school. And she did. At exactly 10 o'clock the following day, she lifted her horse down from the porch. A short time later, everyone in the town dashed to the windows to see the horse that had bolted. Or rather, they thought it had bolted, but it hadn't. It was only Pippi, who was in a bit of a hurry to get to school. At full gallop, she raced into the playground, leapt off the horse before he'd even stopped, and tied him to a tree. Then she flung open the door of the classroom with such a bang that Tommy and Anika and all their nice classmates gave a start as they sat at their desks. Oh, look, Flossie, here they are sitting at their desks. There's Pippi flying in with her pigtails. And here are all the good boys and girls who arrived in time for school. She looks a bit of a wild child, doesn't she? Hi, everybody, hollered Pippi, swinging her big hat. Am I in time for plutrifications? Tommy and Anika had told their teacher that a new girl named Pippi Longstocking was going to be coming. Their teacher had also heard people in the little town talking about Pippi, and because she was a very kind and pleasant teacher, She had decided to do everything she could to make Pippi feel welcome at school. Pippi flung herself down on an empty chair before everyone invited her to do so. But the teacher paid no attention to her brash behaviour. She merely said in a very friendly voice, "Welcome to school, Pippi dear. I hope that you'll be happy here and that you'll learn a great deal." "Yes, well, I hope that I'll get a Christmas holiday," said Pippi. "That's why I've come. Fair's fair above all else." "First, if you wouldn't mind giving me your full name," said the teacher, "then I can register you at school." "My name is Pippi Lotta, Comestibles, Window Shade, Curly Mint, Ephraim daughter, Longstocking, the daughter of Captain Ephraim Longstocking, formerly the terror of the high seas, now king of the natives. Pippi is really just a nickname because Papa thought that Pippi Lotta was too long to say." "I see," said the teacher. "All right then, we'll call you Pippi too. But perhaps we should test your knowledge a bit," she went on. "You're a big girl, and I'm sure you already know quite a lot. Perhaps we could start with arithmetic. Now, Pippi, tell me, how much is 7 plus 5? Pippi looked at her, both surprised and annoyed. Then she said, "If you don't know the answer yourself, I have no intention of telling you." All the children stared at Pippi in horror. The teacher explained to her that she wasn't allowed to talk back to teachers that way at school, and she was supposed to address the teacher as Miss. "Please forgive me," Pippi apologised. "I didn't know that. I won't do it again." "Well, I hope not," said the teacher. "So now I'll tell you that 7 plus 5 equals 12. "You see," said Pippi, "you knew it all along. Why did you have to ask me?" "Oh, what an idiot I am. I forgot to say Miss. Sorry." And then she pinched herself hard on the ear. The teacher decided to ignore this. She went on, "All right, Pippi, how much do you think 8 plus 4 is?" "About 67 or so," Pippi guessed. "Not at all," said the teacher. 8 plus 4 equals 12. "Now wait a minute, my dear lady. This is going too far," said Pippi. "You just told me that 7 plus 5 equals 12. I should think there have to be some rules, even in a school. Besides, if you get such childish delight out of silly things like this, why don't you go and sit by yourself in the corner to do arithmetic and leave us in peace so we can play tag?" "Oh no, now I forgot to say Miss again," she cried in horror. "Could you please forgive me just this one last time? I'll try to remember a little better from now on." The teacher agreed to do this, but she didn't think it was such a good idea to try teaching Pippi any more arithmetic. Instead, she started asking the other children questions. "Tommy, can you give me the correct answer to this problem?" she said. "If Lisa has 7 apples and Axel has 9 apples, how many apples do they have altogether?" "Yes, let's hear your answer, Tommy," Pippi piped up, "and at the same time tell me this. If Lisa has a stomachache and Axel has an even worse stomachache, whose fault is it? And where did they swipe those apples from?" The teacher tried to pretend that she hadn't heard a thing, and she turned to Anika. "All right, Anika, here's a problem for you. Gustav went on a school outing with his classmates. He had 1 krona when he left and 7 when he came back. How much money did he spend?" "Hey," said Pippi, "I also want to know. Why was he such a spendthrift? And did he buy lemonade with his money? And did he wash behind his ears properly before he left home?" The teacher decided to give up on arithmetic. She thought Pippi might like learning to read instead, so she took out a sweet little picture of an iguana. In front of the iguana's nose was the letter I, or I. "All right, Pippi, now I'm going to show you something fun," she said briskly. "Here you see an iguana, and this letter in front is an I." "Oh, no, I don't think so," said Pippi. "That looks like a stick with a little flying speck on the top." The teacher took out the next picture, which showed a snake, and she told Pippi that the letter in front was a S. "Speaking of snakes," said Pippi, "I'll never forget the time that I wrestled with a giant snake in India. It was the most horrible snake you could imagine. He was 14 meters long and angry as a hornet, and every day he ate 5 grown Indians, plus 2 little children for dessert. All he wanted was to have me for dessert too, and he wrapped himself around me. Crunch! But I have sailed the 7 seas after all, I told him, and I bonked him on the head. Bam! And then he started hissing. So I hit him again. Bam! And poof! He died. So that's the letter S. S. How amazing! Pippi had to pause to catch her breath, and the teacher, who was beginning to think that Pippi was a troublesome and difficult child, suggested that the class should do some drawing instead. Surely Pippi would be able to sit quietly and draw, thought the teacher. She took out paper and pens and passed them out to the children. You can draw whatever you like, she said as she sat down at her desk and started correcting homework. After a while, she looked up to see how the drawing was going. All the children were sitting there watching Pippi, who was lying on the floor drawing to her heart's content. Pippi, said the teacher impatiently, why aren't you drawing on the piece of paper? I filled it up a long time ago. I couldn't get my horse on that tiny scrap of paper, said Pippi. Right now I'm drawing his front legs, but when I get to the tail, I'll probably have to go out into the corridor. The teacher thought hard for a moment. Why don't we sing a little song instead, she suggested. All the children stood up next to their desks except Pippi, who was lying on the floor. Go ahead and sing, she said. I'll just rest for a while. All this learning can be too much, even for the strongest person. There she is, drawing her horse's legs and lying on the floor and drawing on the floor. But now the teacher had lost all patience. She told the other children to go out to the playground because she wanted to have a private conversation with Pippi. When the teacher and Pippi were alone, Pippi stood up and went over to the desk. You know what, she said. You know what, miss? It was really fun to come here and see what all of you do, but I don't think I feel like coming to school anymore. I'll just have to make do without a Christmas holiday. There are just too many apples and iguanas and snakes and things like that. It makes my head spin. I hope you're not disappointed, miss. But the teacher said that she did feel disappointed, mainly because Pippi didn't want to try to behave properly. Because a girl who behaved the way Pippi did couldn't be allowed to come to school, no matter how much she might want to. Have I behaved badly? Asked Pippi, very surprised. Oh, and I didn't even know, she said, looking woeful. Nobody could look as woeful as Pippi when she was sad. She was silent for a moment, and then she said in a quavering voice, You have to understand, miss, that if a girl's mamma is an angel, and her papa is a king of the natives, and if she herself has spent her whole life sailing the seas, then she doesn't really know how to behave at school among these apples and iguanas. Then the teacher said that she understood, and that she wasn't annoyed at Pippi any more, and that perhaps Pippi could come back to school when she was a little older. And then Pippi, beaming with joy, said, I think you're awfully nice, miss, and here's something for you. From her pocket, Pippi took out an elegant little gold watch, which she placed on the desk. The teacher said that she couldn't accept such an expensive gift. But Pippi said, You have to, otherwise I'll come back tomorrow, and then there will be a real commotion. After that, Pippi dashed out to the playground and leapt onto her horse. All the children crowded around to give her horse a pat and see her off. Give me the school in Argentina any time, said Pippi, sounding a bit haughty as she looked down at the children. You should try going there. Well, that was an adventure, wasn't it? I think it was more of an adventure for the teacher than it was for Pippi. Anyway, Pippi's not going back, not till she's a bit older. So I will say goodbye, Flossie, and you have a good week at your lovely school, and see you next Sunday. Bye, Zio. Bye.